Happy Monday, America. Welcome to It's a Show. I'm Jake, your host. And I got my co-host and compatriot in the corner, Luke. Say hello to the people.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday.
All right, so let's get the ball rolling right away this week. Let's start your week the right way and talk about two of our favorite people that are teaming up in California. Just superstars. Both of them love these guys. From ABC, Biden Newsom team up seeking COVID-19 momentum. And then the subtitle there is Republicans are already claiming the California recall election may be rigged. It's not at all what Larry Elder said. He encouraged people to keep an eye out for any funny business, as he put it.
Yeah.
But he also said that he believes Joe Biden won the election fair and square and that he's not too worried about fraud in his election because he believes that so many people will vote to recall. So, I don't know. It depends on what you hear. Believe what you want to believe. So the take with Rick Klein, California Governor Gavin Newsom went from offering a cautionary tale to charting the kind of course that Democrats may want to follow. Follow the lead of the man with the most deaths throughout the entire pandemic in the country. Obviously, a huge state, lots of people, but you're leading the way, Gavin. Democrats may want to follow. President Joe Biden is helping him get there by campaigning with him in Long Beach on Monday, today. Newsom's campaign has juiced ballot returns with concerns that a Republican governor would, as Newsom said last week, walk us off that same COVID cliff. As GOP-led states like Texas and Florida, the leading Republican replacement, the leading Republican replacement candidate Larry Elder has promised to roll back vaccine and mask mandates immediately if he is sworn in. So Gavin goes and says that, hey, you don't want to be like those Republican states that are going to lead you off this so-called COVID cliff. So I decided to get some statistics going. So first of all, let's go here. Where was I? I actually don't have this one, but I'll start here. So, if we look at Texas, we see that Texas has 17,980 new cases as the 7-day average, with 248 of those cases resulting in death, which lands the COVID mortality rate in Texas over the last 7 days, which Newsom said Abbott, he stated that Abbott led Texas off the COVID cliff, but their mortality rate as of now sits at about 1.3%. And those are the kind of numbers that Gavin Newsom and people like Joe Biden claim are just out of control, and that these Neanderthal-type governors, or with their Neanderthal-type thinking, are just destroying people's lives, and that in turn they could help people's lives by mandating what they do with their bodies, what they put inside their bodies, where they go, what they can do, because that's better than Abbott, who gives them a choice, allows them to make their own choices. And you wonder about some of these numbers in Texas. What average last 7 days, right? 1,734 deaths in the last 7 days, and 122,000 new cases in the last 7 days. What's also going on in Texas? The border is wide open, or was until the Supreme Court demanded that Joe Biden reinstate the stay in Mexico policy from the Trump administration. Go Supreme Court. But a lot of people, illegal immigrants that we did not require be vaccinated were coming through the country. They were testing positive, and they would test positive, and then we would just put them in a bus and say, screw it. Go ahead, you person sick with COVID. That would then could go out into the community and spread that to other people. So maybe that's what's going on with Texas. Maybe that is a factor.
Well, I think Biden's going to have to get some votes next time around anyway, right? So why not be a bunch of migrants,
Yeah, just juice up those numbers.
Juice them up.
All right, why am I... Okay, so data visualization states that I don't have this up here, but data visualization states that in 2020, in the age group of 85 plus, only 13% of deaths were attributed to COVID-19. That means in the age group of 85 or older, excuse me, in 2020, people 85 or older, the total of number of deaths in the country amongst that age group, only 13% of those deaths were attributed to COVID-19. When this was, well, now they're saying now we're in the height of the pandemic, but I question that as well. So let's look at the actual leading causes of death in Texas really quickly. So first of all, you may notice COVID's not even on it. COVID's not on this list. The top 10 causes of death in the state of Texas. I don't see COVID-19 anywhere on this list.
No.
I see heart disease, cancer, accidents, stroke, chronic lower respiratory diseases, Alzheimer's diseases, diabetes, chronic liver disease, cirrhosis, kidney disease, suicide.
Yeah.
No COVID-19. Okay, so suicide makes the top 10 killer in Texas on average every year, and COVID-19 doesn't touch that. And you know what's another thing with these COVID numbers? They want to measure them in totality. A lot of these people, they want to measure the entire length of the pandemic, which at this point is about 18 months in the United States. So so those numbers are obviously skewed because they, instead of doing something in a season or by year, they just want to keep tallying all those numbers up. All right, so any deaths or tragedies, of course, but ask yourself, what would you have done? Would you have trapped people inside, destroyed their businesses, destroyed their way to make money when you could see that the infection numbers were not changing, lockdowns weren't helping, over a virus with a mortality rate of, here we go in Texas, if you're Greg Abbott, because he's being condemned for the way he handled the pandemic, would you have done this? Would you have kept people shut down over a virus that has a mortality rate of 1.4% right now and exacerbate a real issue in Texas like suicide, which is number 10 on the list? So let's just go through real quick. In Texas right now, per 100,000, this was 2020, or an average taken, so I guess over 12-month period prior to and up to ages 15 to 24, 14.3 deaths that year per 100,000. 35 to 44, 16.5 deaths. 45 to 54, 18.7 deaths. 55 to 64, 18.6 deaths. 65 to 55 to 64, then 65 to 74 is 15.3 deaths. 75 to 84 is 19.4 deaths, and the 85 or older group is 19.2 deaths. These are all per 100,000, which comes to a total of 140.3 deaths per 100,000 people. And you may think, yeah, that seems pretty bad. But let's think about the total population of Texas, okay? Or you may think that's not too bad, 140 people per 100,000 deaths. But let's think about, that's per 100,000. So the total population of Texas, you know what it is, Luke? 29,730,311, which brings, from the most recent census, which brings the average suicide numbers, if you go on average based on that per 100,000, to 31,000 people a year.
Holy shit.
But since the beginning of the pandemic in early 2020, 18 months ago, not a year again, 18 months is how we're measuring this. COVID has killed 58,855 people in Texas. So if you break down COVID average deaths and bring that 18 months to a year and just average it out, which I know are not clean numbers because more deaths occurred in more months, but let's just average it out. Let's play the numbers game. Break down COVID average deaths to 12 months in Texas, and you get 39,236 deaths, down from the was it 5 or 59,000? I just threw my card. 58,000, almost 59. So now we're down to 39,236 deaths over a year from COVID-19. Roughly 8,000 more folks died of COVID versus suicide, which is only the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. So COVID killed 8,000 more people than suicide kills every year in Texas, which is the 10th leading cause of death. Where am I at here? I think that's all the cards I got. All right, so let's go to the CDC. And if you look at this and you go to their deaths and you go by age, all right? Oh, look, it's the 75 and older group that remains high. Shocker. Okay, let's go to cases by age. All over the place, right? All over the place. Infections. It's a very infectious disease. But you want to talk mortality, That's what we're talking about. People don't want to talk about mortality because mortality isn't scary enough. They just want to keep talking about the infection numbers, the infection numbers, the infection numbers. Look at all these new cases, all these new cases, all these kids are spreading all these new cases. But when you look at the mortality rate, excuse me, Jesus. I had so much coffee.
You okay?
Yeah,
All right.
5 cups of coffee. My point being is this mortality rate, what we have seen over the past 18 months, has it warranted the shutdown and the devastation financially to individual Americans that lost their businesses or lost their jobs and couldn't work and couldn't provide for their families and were living off these stimulus checks in hopes that the government would just give them some money because the government took away their ability to make money.
Right.
But no, they were given these scroungy little checks and say, just take this $1,400 per person, take this whatever, just get by for a little longer. Maybe we'll help you out again in the future. Just stay in your home, stay scared over this, 99.9% survival rate, which apparently in Texas has gotten a little lower. We're seeing around 98, but maybe that brings something into question, which you cannot be mentioned on YouTube talks about a lot. Maybe these COVID vaccines are then going to cause more variants, which will get more deadly over time. And then before you know it, you won't have to have a choice. You'll have to get vaccinated, or otherwise you will die because we will juice this thing up over time with these vaccines and the transmission and the way it mutates to get stronger and stronger when we could have just let it burn through and it would probably be over by now.
Yeah. Whatever happened to herd immunity?
Maybe it wouldn't be. It was 70%. Yeah, we
Right.
needed to reach 70%
And what are we at?
to
Like
get to herd
60?
immunity. I think we're at 90
90%.
with vaccinations and between natural
Yeah.
infections and vaccinations. I think we're close to 90%, but only half the population is vaccinated. But that accounts for people that got sick
Right.
that we know about.
Right. I don't get why, like, even the CDC said that, like, if you've already had the virus, that you have some kind of natural born immunity.
Mm-hmm.
So how long does that immunity last? You know what I mean? Like, is it better than the actual vaccine immunity, or
Well, it seems to be, considering the vaccines don't seem to be working since they're
Yeah.
talking about third doses, booster shots. Johnson & Johnson is trying to get a booster approved by the FDA right now, even though they don't have their vaccine fully approved by the FDA yet.
that's insane?
We have people at the FDA quitting over the Biden administration, pushing for this full approval of the Pfizer vaccine or the Comirnaty twin or whatever
Yeah.
it is. It's the same thing, but it's a different vaccine technically, but they're the same formula, and one's fully approved and one's not. Get into that another time. But yeah, it's wild. It's wild. It's clearly not about, it went from what, 2 weeks to slow the spread to you can't go into a restaurant without showing us your papers.
Right.
And this all happened over a year and a half.
I know. It's crazy.
Give it 5 years. Where will we be if we don't turn this around? Look at Australia.
Yeah.
Australia is a scary place right
Look
now.
at Canada.
Yeah, our neighbors to the
That's
north.
right next door,
Mhm.
and that's the scariest part. Like, Canada is they're in a bad shape, dude. They're in bad shape.
You're going to start ripping your kids out of your arms because your kid may have been traced to an infection in their school. So now the police are going to come and they're going to come take your child and rip him out of your arms and force you both to get vaccinated and sit in a box at some sort of camp. No, thank you.
Sounds like 1940
They're building the COVID
Germany?
camps in Australia.
Yeah, I saw those.
So call it a conspiracy theory, all this stuff that people have been saying for a year and a half, but it's literally happening.
Yeah. Wake up, people. Wake up.
All right, and let's end the show with some good news.
Okay.
North Korea test fires a cruise missile that can carry a nuclear warhead 932 miles and hit Tokyo in Kim Jong-un's latest saber rattling at the West. State media KCNA said the missile flew 930 miles before hitting their targets. North Korean leadership believe the missiles will provide effective difference. Now, you remember what Donald Trump said to North Korea when they were saber rattling during his administration that they would be met with fire and fury like they've never seen before. And
Yes.
guess what? Kim Jong Un put his head between his legs and ran back to his room. And then Donald Trump went over to North Korea and walked freely into the demilitarized zone. From the demilitarized zone into North Korea. Could have never come back from there. They could have snatched him up right then and there. But he just walked across the line. He has no fear. And now we're doing nothing projecting weakness, and Kim Jong-un's back at it. Like, look at what I'm doing over here, Joe Biden. You can't stop me because I know you will never interfere with what I'm doing based on the example of the Middle East, which there's nuance there, I understand. But it's clear that we can say goodbye to Taiwan as a country.
Oh, yeah.
We had that video of the man talking about how he knew several people that were quitting the military, like F-16 like these super well-trained pilots that were flying these like $20 million aircraft, and now those aircraft are just sitting on the ground because there's no one else trained to fly them.
Right.
And all over the vaccine.
Yeah.
Stripping our military. Well, there's some good news for you. All right. Guess that's it.
All
Goodbye,
right.
folks. Have a great Monday. Might see you tomorrow, probably. I don't know.
Peace.